everybody, this is the Daydreamer, Daydreams and Nightmares, and this is another one of my Welcome to My Collection Wednesdays. Still looking at Valiant Comics in the background, and in the center there we have the Valiant title, Shadowman. This is one of my favorite books from Valiant, simply because it is so unusual. It deals with the occult. It takes place in New Orleans and very much is involved in the voodoo world of New Orleans. And one of the best villains in the whole Valiant universe is very present in these books here as well, in Master Dark. Shadowman was originally created by Jim Shooter and Steve Englehart and artist Mike Manley. Although it does seem that most of the stories come from mostly from Jim Shooter and from Bob Hall, who is involved also as an artist in a lot of these books as well. Story is centered around the guy you see there in front of you, known as Shadowman. Also, his alter ego, when he's not Shadowman, is Jack Dominique Boniface. He's a jazz musician, sax player in New Orleans. He is able to fill himself with the dark power, which I've mentioned before, talking about Master Dark and talking about Dr. Mirage is another one that I've shown. This is the energy that comes from when humans die, the dark power, the mages and necromancers and those who practice voodoo are very much part of that. You would think that he would be a bad guy if that's what he's doing, but he is actually the opposite. He is the shadow man that possesses his soul. That he becomes when he gets filled with the dark power. Actually hates evil and bad. So actually, he is a good guy using dark power. Anyway, when he is filled with that, he has a reduced fear. He's able to see in the dark. He has regenerative powers. He has enhanced strength and endurance, reflexes, and of course other voodoo powers. This is one of the what they call flagship books. This is one of the, in 1992 is when a lot of these books from Valiant started coming out, and Shadowman was one of them. This book ran from 92 to 95, 43 issues plus the origin, the Zero, which we're currently looking at, until 1996 when Valiant was bought out by Acclaim. And a lot of these characters were like Turok that I had shown before. Shadowman had also been turned into a video game by Acclaim, with more success than with the comic books that they put out. What you are currently looking at is the Zero, or the origin issue of Shadowman, covered by Bob Hall and Tom Ryder. It's a chromium cover, shiny, like they like to do back in the 90s. And we have Shadowman number 1. This is technically the very first appearance of Shadowman. Cover art here is done by David Lapham and Joe Rubinstein. Shadowman number 2. This is done by David Lapham and Tom Ryder. Both this one and number 3. You have Shadowman number 4. This actually is the first book of Shadowman that's involved in the Unity event that they have, that was really kind of where most people consider they went off track with what they were doing with Valiant. But anyway, this was chapter 6 of that particular one, and they actually have Frank Miller doing the cover art for this. Also, chapter 14 of the Unity event, Shadowman number 5. And it's Walt Simonson who's doing the cover art for this one. Now, when I was researching this, I guess I didn't pay attention and didn't realize Shadowman number 6, at least the books that I have 0 through 26. This ran through 43, so I'm missing 16 issues. And I have some duplicates of some of the ones that I do have. But from what I can see, this is the only one that has story and cover art done by Steve Ditko. Also Bob Layton on this as well. Shadowman number 7. Cover art here done by Don Perlin and Stan Drake. And then we are on to what would be considered a key book in the Valiant world. This would be the very first appearance of the villain that I mentioned earlier. First appearance of Master Dark in the Valiant universe. Cover art here is done by Val Gouchette and John Dixon. Shadowman number 9. Cover art done by Joe St. Pierre and Bob Layton. Now, the next 3 books are all part of a story arc where we get our first true confrontation between Shadowman and Master Dark. Cover art on all of these are done by Bob Hall, and Tom Ryder is involved with 11 and 12, but this is Bob Hall here. And it's Bob Hall and Tom Ryder here for Shadowman number 11. Shadowman number 12, and this is the first cover we have where we get the front and center with Master Dark. Shadowman number 13, Val Gouchette and Randy Elliott on the cover here. Shadowman number 14, after all the stuff that happened in New Orleans, he decides to get out of town. This particular story takes place in Georgia. Said he can't escape trouble even when he leaves New Orleans. Cover here is done by Bob Hall and John Dixon. And it seems like he and either Bob Hall or John Dixon or Tom Ryder are involved with Bob Hall on just about every one of these next ones for quite a few here. Once again, Bob Hall and John Dixon for this one. Then apparently we head to the Great Plains. Yeah. This is by Bob Hall and Tom Ryder. And of course, now we are in the Big Apple, New York City. The cover here, Bob Hall and John Dixon. Shadowman number 17. We have a guest appearance by Archer and Armstrong. In this and the following book, the cover here is by Bob Hall and Bob Wyacek. Bob and Bob. Shadowman number 18. Cover art by Bob Hall and John Dixon. Once again, Archer and Armstrong. Shadowman number 19, and yes, that is Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. Apparently they're in the comics too. Cover here is by Bob Hall and Tom Ryder. Shadowman number 20. Cover art by Mark Moretti and John Dixon. Shadowman number 21. Actually, I've shown this off because these two covers are 21 and 22 are kind of a yin-yang of each other. Master Dark here and Shadowman here from 21 to 22. Cover art on both of these is done by Bob Hall. In the second story in 22, you get your first appearance of Dr. Mirage, who I've mentioned before, also having access and power of dark magic and having some dealings with Master Dark as well. That's 21 and 22. Number 23, once again, guest starring Dr. Mirage. Also Bob Hall and Tom Ryder. Shadowman number 24. Cover art is done by Bob Hall, by himself. Shadowman number 25. This has the distinction of also coming with a free Upper Deck Valiant Era card on the inside here. This is a limited edition Upper Deck card. Trading card that came with the Valiant Era sets. I actually have a full set of, actually have several full sets of those Valiant Era cards. The cover art here is done by Rags Morales. And then the last book I have in my collection here of Shadowman, number 26. Cover art done by Bob Hall and Tom Schneider. Once again, that is all of the Shadowmans that I have. I do have duplicates of some of these books here as well, but I do have 0 through 26. I don't have the 27 through 43 to finish up the collection. I hope you enjoyed all of these books. This is a great book if you want to check it out. Like I said, it is very steeped in New Orleans and voodoo, and I really enjoyed this because it wasn't your typical superhero type of book either. Anyway, hit like if you enjoyed this, subscribe if you want to watch more, leave any feedback or comments down below, and thank you for watching.